Okay, so imagine you're watching the World Cup. 90,000 people screaming. The ball is flying around. Players are running everywhere. And you have absolutely no idea what anyone is supposed to be doing. That's what this video fixes. By the end of this video, you will understand every single position on a football pitch. What they do, why they exist, and why some of them are worth $200 million. Let's go. First, the basics. A football team has 11 players on the field at a time. Those 11 players are split into 4 groups: goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, attackers. Simple. But inside those 4 groups, there are over a dozen different roles, each one with its own job, its own rules, and its own way of breaking a game open. We're going to go through all of them. Starting from the back, the goalkeeper, the most unique position in all of football. Every other player on the pitch uses their feet. The goalkeeper uses their hands. They stand inside a large rectangular box called the penalty area, and their only job is to stop the ball from crossing the line behind them. That line is called the goal line. If the ball crosses it, the other team scores. Simple. But here's what people don't realize about goalkeepers. They're not just standing there waiting. Modern goalkeepers basically act as an 11th outfield player. They pass, they command defenders. They start attacks with their feet. A bad goalkeeper can destroy an entire team, no matter how good everyone else is. That's why clubs like Manchester City paid over $30 million for their goalkeeper, for someone whose main job is to stand in one spot. And goalkeepers don't get substituted often. Some play 300 consecutive games without missing a single match. They are the most mentally pressured player on the pitch. One mistake and the crowd will remember it forever. Score at the wrong end. Viral moment. Drop a ball you should catch. Career defining for all the wrong reasons. Now the defenders. This is where it gets interesting. The most common defensive setup uses 4 defenders. 2 in the center, 2 on the sides. Let's start with the center backs. These are usually the tallest, most physically powerful players on the team. Their job is to stand in front of the goalkeeper and stop the opposing attackers from getting a clean shot. They tackle. They head the ball. They organize the defensive line. Think of them like the last wall before the goalkeeper. If an attacker gets past everyone else, the center back is the last real obstacle. Here's a wild fact. A top center back like Virgil van Dijk can cover 100 meters in under 11 seconds while reading the game, communicating to teammates, and positioning their body to win a physical battle. And they do this for 90 minutes. But there's a huge difference between a center back and a ball-playing center back. A regular center back focuses on defending. A ball-playing center back is comfortable bringing the ball forward and starting attacks with accurate long passes. Teams that play out from the back, meaning they build their attack slowly from the goalkeeper, need center backs who are essentially defenders, who can play like midfielders. The fact that this position now requires 2 completely different skill sets is why great center backs cost over $80 million. Now the fullbacks. These are the 2 defenders on the far left and far right of the defensive line. Traditionally, their job was simple. Stay wide, stop the opposing winger. Don't do anything crazy. That job description no longer exists. Today's fullbacks are some of the most athletic players in world football. They defend. They sprint up the sideline to support attacks. They cross the ball into the box. They combine with midfielders. Some fullbacks score more goals than the forwards on other teams. Trent Alexander-Arnold of Real Madrid is the perfect example. He plays right back. That's the right side fullback. But his passing ability is so elite that he essentially functions as an extra midfielder. Teams have to rethink their entire defensive structure just to deal with one fullback. That is how much the position has evolved. There's also a newer version called the inverted fullback. Instead of staying wide, this type of fullback cuts inside and plays almost like a central midfielder. It sounds confusing, but here's the idea. If your fullback moves into the middle, your wide attacker has more space on the outside to run into. The opponent's defense doesn't know whether to follow the fullback or stay with the winger. That confusion is the whole point. Now we move into midfield. And this is the engine room of football, the central midfielder. If you're watching a football match and you see someone who touches the ball more than anyone else, who seems to be in every part of the pitch, who links defense to attack constantly, that's your central midfielder. They do everything. They win the ball. They distribute it. They press opponents. They cover ground. They make late runs into the box. A great central midfielder is like the quarterback of a football team, except they don't get to call plays from a huddle. Every decision is made in half a second under pressure. Now here's where it gets tactical. The defensive midfielder. This player sits just in front of the back 4, the 4 defenders, and acts like a shield. Their job is to intercept passes, break up opponents' attacks before they start, and protect the center backs. They're not glamorous. They don't score many goals. They rarely get highlight reels. But every elite team in the world has one. N'Golo Kante became a household name. Not because he scored goals or dribbled past 5 players. He became famous because he was everywhere at once, winning the ball back constantly, so that his teammates could play freely. France won the World Cup in 2018 largely because of what Kante did defensively. Work that most casual viewers never even noticed. That's the defensive midfielder, invisible to many. irreplaceable to everyone who understands the game. On the opposite end, you have the attacking midfielder. This player sits just behind the forwards and is responsible for creating chances, finding the moment to play a pass through the opponent's defense that leads directly to a goal. They're sometimes called the number 10, because historically, the most creative player wore the shirt with the number 10 on it. Pelé, Maradona, Zidane, Messi. The number 10 is the most romantic position in football history. Great attacking midfielders see passes that nobody else on the pitch can see. They play in the spaces between the opponent's defense and midfield. Less spaces that don't actually exist until they create them. Controlling the game from that zone requires vision, creativity, and the kind of decision-making that cannot be coached. Either you see it or you don't. Now let's talk about wide midfielders and wingers. These are players who operate on the left and right sides of the pitch. Their job is to stretch the opponent's defense, force them to spread out, which creates gaps in the middle. They dribble past defenders. They deliver crosses into the box. And in modern football, they score a lot of goals. Here's the twist. Most modern wingers don't actually stay on their natural side. A right-footed player on the left wing will cut inside onto their stronger foot and shoot at goal. A left-footed player on the right wing does the same. These are called inverted wingers. And the best ones in the world are worth over $200 million. Kylian Mbappé, Mohamed Salah, Vinicius Jr., all inverted wingers, all absolute weapons. Why does cutting inside work so well? Because when you start on the left but drive toward the center, defenders have a choice. Follow you inside and leave space on the wide left. Stay wide and give you a direct path to shoot. Either option is bad for them. That's the beauty of it. Now we arrive at the forwards. The players who score the goals. The ones on the posters. The ones who make it into the highlights every weekend. The striker, also called the center forward, has one primary job. Score goals. They position themselves as close to the opponent's goal as possible. They time their runs to get in behind the defense. They hold the ball up, bringing teammates into play when the team is building an attack. And they finish under pressure, in front of 80,000 people, with 2 seconds to make a decision. Great strikers are incredibly rare. The ability to consistently score goals at the highest level, week after week, season after season, is one of the most valuable skills in professional sports. Erling Haaland scored 36 Premier League goals in a single season. That had never been done before in the league's history. He was worth $175 million by his early 20s, because goals win games, and games win trophies, and trophies are worth billions. There's also the false nine, one of the most fascinating tactical inventions in modern football. A false nine looks like a striker, but doesn't act like one. Instead of staying near the opponent's goal, they drop deep into midfield, dragging the opponent's center backs with them. This creates space behind the defense for midfielders and wingers to run into. The opponent's defenders now have a choice. Follow the false nine into midfield and leave a massive gap behind them. Or stay and let the false nine receive the ball freely with time to create. Lionel Messi played as a false nine at Barcelona and became arguably the greatest player who ever lived doing exactly this. And then there's the second striker, a player who plays just behind the main forward. Their job is to link midfield and attack, creating chances for the striker, while also getting into goal-scoring positions themselves. They're sometimes called a shadow striker. Harry Kane has played this role. So has Roberto Firmino. They might not always be the top scorer, but they make everything around them function better. So let's quickly put it all together. You have one goalkeeper protecting the goal, 4 defenders, 2 center backs in the middle, 1 fullback on each side, 3 or 4 midfielders, usually a defensive midfielder protecting the defense, 1 or 2 central midfielders doing everything in between, and an attacking midfielder creating chances, and 2 or 3 forwards, a striker leading the line, wingers stretching the defense on each side. Every position connects. Every role exists to either protect your goal or threaten theirs. The goalkeeper talks to the defenders. The defenders pass to the midfielders. The midfielders create for the attackers. The attackers finish. And then it starts again from the other direction. What makes football endlessly fascinating is that these roles aren't fixed. A manager can change the entire shape of a team in minutes. Switch a formation. Move a player into a new role. Completely change how 11 people interact with each other. The same 11 players can look completely different depending on who they're facing. That's why football has produced hundreds of tactical systems across 100 years of professional football, and the best. Managers in the world are still finding new ways to do it. Now you know what every position does. Next time you watch a match, you're not just watching 22 players running around a field. You're watching 11 roles working together, competing against 11 other roles, every single second of the game. If this video helped you actually understand football for the first time, buenas caras, y do hit subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from.